Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York. It hasn't even been 24 hours, but Kash Patel's testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday is already raising major alarm bells over whether or not the director of the FBI was telling the truth to Congress, not just about the news accounts of his excessive drinking on the job, the administration of polygraph tests at the FBI, or of firing agents for political reasons, but also about the very statistics that he relied upon to defend his job amid all those embarrassing headlines. According to brand new exclusive reporting from our colleagues Carol Leonnig and Ken Delanian, when it comes to the arrests Kash Patel boasted about yesterday, quote, Patel's FBI has imposed new policies.
Washington just got hit with another political firestorm, and this one exploded fast. Kash Patel is now at the center of a growing national controversy after accusations began spreading that he misled Congress during high-stakes testimony tied to investigations that have already divided the country for years. Now the internet is exploding with one massive question. Did Patel knowingly mislead lawmakers, or is this another brutal political takedown playing out in front of the entire country? Because right now the pressure surrounding this situation is escalating by the hour. Headlines are spreading everywhere. Political commentators are going nuclear online. Clips are circulating across social media at light speed. And depending on who you ask, this is either a long overdue reckoning or a full-blown political ambush designed to destroy another high-profile figure connected to Donald Trump's orbit. But regardless of which side people stand on politically, one thing is obvious. The words misleading Congress instantly light a fuse in America. Because those two words carry massive weight. They imply deception, manipulation, dishonesty at the highest level of government. And once accusations like that enter the public conversation, everything escalates immediately. Careers collapse over accusations like this. Reputations get destroyed over accusations like this. Entire political movements start turning on each other over accusations like this. And now, Patel's name is sitting directly in the middle of the storm. According to the growing controversy, critics are claiming Patel gave statements to lawmakers that either conflicted with other evidence or raised serious concerns about whether Congress was being told the full truth during critical testimony. That alone was enough to ignite political chaos online. But then came the bigger explosion. Calls for consequences. Calls for investigations. Calls demanding accountability. And suddenly social media transformed this into something even larger. Now people are screaming about arrests, corruption, cover-ups, political protection, weaponized government. The entire conversation spiraled almost instantly because America is already emotionally exhausted from years of non-stop political warfare. Every major controversy now feels like gasoline hitting a fire that was already burning underneath the country. And that is exactly what is happening here. Because this is no longer just about Patel himself. This has become symbolic of something much larger people feel happening across Washington. Distrust, secrecy, political gamesmanship. Americans increasingly believe people in power operate under completely different rules than ordinary citizens. So the second accusations involving Congress and misleading testimony begins circulating, public anger ignites immediately. Especially when the person involved is tied to explosive political movements and investigations that millions of Americans already feel emotionally invested in. And honestly, that emotional investment is what makes stories like this detonate online. People are no longer calmly watching politics like spectators. Politics now feels tribal, personal, emotional. Every controversy instantly becomes a battlefield where Americans project all their frustrations, fears, and suspicions onto one giant national fight. That is why this story exploded so fast. Because Patel already carries enormous political baggage in the public eye.
That inflate these numbers and overstate the FBI's progress in stemming crime. That is according to a half-dozen law enforcement sources with knowledge of the changes. Kash Patel's lack of transparency is even causing some from inside the FBI to speak out, with one current official telling MS Now this, quote, They are absolutely padding the stats and claiming arrests they would not have claimed.
Supporters view him as somebody who challenged powerful institutions and exposed corruption behind closed doors. Critics view him as deeply controversial and politically aggressive. So once accusations involving misleading Congress surfaced, both sides immediately dug trenches online. One side screaming, "Finally!" The other side screaming, "Witch hunt!" And now the entire internet is on fire again. But here is what makes this situation especially explosive. Congress represents power, oversight, accountability. Americans may disagree on almost everything politically right now, but many still believe lying to Congress crosses a line. Because Congress is supposed to represent the public itself. So accusations involving misleading lawmakers trigger a deep emotional reaction. It creates the perception that the American people themselves may have been manipulated or deceived. That is why these accusations carry such heavy emotional weight, even before every detail is fully understood publicly. The optics alone are devastating. And optics are everything in modern media warfare, especially online where perception moves faster than facts. Right now, millions of people are seeing dramatic headlines before they ever read deeper context. That is the world we live in now. Headlines are the battlefield. And Patel gets arrested for misleading Congress is exactly the type of headline designed to explode across social media because it instantly triggers curiosity, outrage, fear, and political tension all at once. People immediately want to know what happened, what was said, what evidence exists, whether this is real, whether this is political revenge, whether more arrests could follow, whether larger investigations are coming next. That is how political media functions now. Every story becomes a chain reaction of escalating emotional questions. And this controversy is already moving that direction rapidly. But another reason this story is spreading aggressively is because Americans have become deeply suspicious of nearly every institution simultaneously. Government, media, law enforcement, intelligence agencies, Congress itself. Public trust has collapsed across the board over the last decade, which means every major political accusation now lands inside an environment already poisoned by distrust. That creates maximum volatility. Because people no longer begin from a neutral position anymore. They begin from suspicion. So when accusations involving Congress and misleading testimony emerge, millions instantly assume corruption before facts even fully settle. Others instantly assume political targeting. The country reacts emotionally first now, and rationally second. That is the reality of modern American political culture. And honestly, Washington helped create that atmosphere over years of nonstop scandal, investigation, leaks, accusations, and televised political warfare. Americans are exhausted mentally. Every few weeks, another major figure seems to get pulled into another giant controversy involving investigations, hidden documents, testimony disputes, or allegations of misconduct. People feel like they are constantly watching one endless political courtroom drama that never actually ends. And that exhaustion creates a dangerous environment because public trust erodes further every single time another controversy explodes. That is why stories like this matter far beyond the individuals involved. They deepen the national feeling that nobody truly knows who to trust anymore. Now, supporters of Patel are already pushing back aggressively against the accusations. Many are framing the situation as politically motivated retaliation tied to broader battles surrounding Trump-era investigations and government oversight. Others argue accusations are being exaggerated intentionally to damage public perception before all facts are fully available. And honestly, that reaction was completely predictable. Because America has reached a point where every political controversy instantly splits into two competing realities online. One side sees justice. The other side sees persecution. One side sees accountability. The other side sees corruption weaponized against political enemies. And the louder the accusations become, the more intense the divide grows. That is exactly what is happening here. Meanwhile, critics argue that misleading Congress is an extremely serious matter regardless of political affiliation. They say accountability must apply equally, whether somebody is connected to Trump, Biden, Republicans, Democrats, intelligence agencies, or anybody else. That argument is also gaining traction online because Americans are increasingly frustrated by the perception that powerful people rarely face meaningful consequences. That frustration cuts across political lines more than many realize. Ordinary Americans are struggling financially, emotionally, and socially right now. Inflation, debt, housing pressure, economic uncertainty, rising tension everywhere. So when people watch political elites constantly wrapped in controversy without clear answers, anger builds fast. They feel disconnected from the system entirely. Stories like this tap directly into that frustration. Because deep down, many Americans now believe the political class operates inside a completely separate reality from everyone else. And every new controversy reinforces that perception further. But another massive reason this story is exploding is because Congress itself has become deeply theatrical in the public eye. Televised hearings, dramatic questioning, viral clips, explosive accusations, political grandstanding. Modern congressional proceedings often feel more like media spectacles than traditional oversight hearings, which means any controversy tied to congressional testimony automatically becomes media fuel. People expect drama now. They expect confrontation. They expect bombshell moments. So the second accusations of misleading Congress entered the public conversation, the internet immediately transformed it into a national spectacle. Clips started spreading. Commentators started shouting. Political influencers started weaponizing the story instantly. And now millions of Americans are emotionally plugged into the controversy, whether they fully understand the legal specifics or not. That is the power of modern political media. Emotion spreads first. Details come later. And once narratives harden online, changing public perception becomes almost impossible afterward. That is why headlines matter so much now. They create emotional first impressions that dominate everything afterward. Right now, the emotional first impression surrounding this story is simple. Something serious may have happened involving Congress and honesty under oath. Whether that perception ultimately holds legally is another question entirely. But politically? The damage begins immediately the second accusations hit national conversation. And honestly, Washington knows this better than anyone. Political survival today depends heavily on controlling perception before the internet fully turns against you. Because once viral outrage begins, it moves unbelievably fast. Especially in a political environment already overflowing with anger and distrust. That is exactly why this controversy matters beyond Patel himself. It reflects the broader collapse of stability in American political culture. Every controversy now escalates into total warfare instantly. Every accusation becomes existential. Every investigation becomes emotional fuel for millions already frustrated with the system. Americans are no longer simply debating politics. They are emotionally surviving politics now. And that emotional exhaustion is making the country more volatile overall. Stories like this hit harder because people already feel overwhelmed by constant tension. They feel like the country is permanently stuck in political crisis mode. One scandal ends and another begins immediately afterward. One investigation fades and another explodes instantly afterward. That constant pressure creates deep public cynicism. People stop believing anything is clean anymore. That may be the most dangerous consequence of controversies like this. Not just damage to individuals, but damage to public trust itself. Because once trust collapses fully, society becomes unstable emotionally. People stop believing institutions can tell the truth. They stop believing investigations are fair. They stop believing outcomes are legitimate. And when enough people lose faith simultaneously, national unity becomes nearly impossible. That is why stories involving Congress, investigations, and allegations of deception create such enormous emotional reactions now. Americans no longer see isolated incidents. They see symptoms of a much larger system they increasingly distrust. And right now, Patel's name is sitting directly in the middle of that national storm. Whether these accusations ultimately lead anywhere legally remains to be seen. Whether evidence fully supports the claims remains to be seen. Whether this becomes another massive political battle dominating headlines for weeks also remains to be seen. But one thing is already undeniable. The controversy has exploded into a full-scale media war, and millions of Americans are now watching closely to see what happens next.